This is Wrestling News Now. I'm Todd Tanner. What's up, everybody? Continuing with the story of Butch Reed. I forgot to mention earlier, this is part 2, and earlier in my introduction, and my apologies and my respects to the family. Butch Reed, he was born on the 11th of July, 1954. Sadly, he passed away on the 5th of February of 2021. Rest in peace, big guy. And he was an American professional wrestler and football player known by the ring name Butch Reed. So let's continue the story about the one and only, as he called himself earlier in the game, Hacksaw Butch Reed. Well, that caused a great controversy between him and Hacksaw Jim Duggan. So now it's time to go on after Butch Reed left the Mid-South territory. After leaving the Mid-South Wrestling once more, Reed returned to Kansas City and the NWA Central States territory run by Bob Geigel. You know, Bob Geigel became an announcer as well. Here he initially teamed with Rufus R. Jones as the Soul Patrol. He later turned on Jones and joined the group of manager Slick, Jones's real-life son, in 1986. After a brief feud with Jones, Reed feuded with Bruiser Brody. That summer, he lost the Loser Leaves Town match to Brody and left the territory along with Slick, who became Reverend Slick in the then WWF. Reed and Slick signed with the WWF and were brought in as a package. Reed dyed his hair blonde and became the natural Butch Reed, an updated version of Sweet Daddy Ski. He feuded initially with Tito Santana, a target of Slick's verbal jabs, and made his pay-per-view debut at WrestleMania III, where he defeated Koko Beware. In the weeks after WrestleMania, Reed targeted a new Intercontinental Champion, Ricky Steamboat, and faced him at house shows on an episode of Wrestling Challenge. In the fall, the WWF was heavily hyping a feud between Reed and superstar Billy Graham, a former WWF champion, who was staging a comeback after hip replacement surgery. Graham's condition was such that he could no longer handle the physical demands of being a wrestler, so Reed and Slick's newest acquisition, the One-Man Gang, injured Graham in a sneak attack that was used to explain his permanent retirement. Graham began managing the man who came to his aid, Don Morocco, with Morocco immediately entering into a rivalry with Reed. The enemies were on opposing teams in the main event of the first Survivor Series. Morocco took Graham's place on Hulk Hogan's team. Reed, a member of Andre the Giant's team, was the first elimination of the match by Hogan. Reed competed in and was the first wrestler eliminated from the first Royal Rumble match in January 1988. 2 months later, he was eliminated in the first round of the WrestleMania IV Championships tournament in the first round by eventual tournament winner, the one and only, oh yeah, Macho Man, Randy Savage. Reed dominated most of the match against Savage, but spent too much time mouthing off to Savage's manager and real-life wife, Miss Elizabeth. While climbing to the top turnbuckle, Savage caught Reed, threw him off for a slam, and immediately hit his diving elbow drop off the top turnbuckle for the win. This first round loss at WrestleMania IV was Reed's final match for the WWF. On September 9, 2017, Reed made a cameo appearance backstage at the September 14 edition of WWE SmackDown during the segment involving his former manager and SmackDown General Manager, Theodore Long. Shortly after WrestleMania IV, Reed and the WWF parted ways. Reed's manager Slick stayed with the WWF, while Reed has struck out on his own once more. Butch Reed resurfaced in the NWA's Jim Crockett Promotions as Hacksaw Butch Reed. He more or less immediately resumed his Mid-South feud with the Junkyard Dog. He was briefly managed by James J. Dillon before his contract was sold to Hiro Matsuda's Yamasaki Corporation. Reed did not see much success in the early parts of his run with JCP. His biggest match was a loss to Sting at the Chi-Town Rumble on February 20th, 1989. During the summer of 1989, he floundered in the mid-card as Jim Crockett's promotion grew to become a national wrestling organization. The Steiner Brothers were involved in an angle with women who promised doom for the two brothers, but never specified exactly what this meant. She unveiled her promise at Halloween Havoc 1989. A couple of brawny, hard-hitting, masked African Americans. It was obvious to most wrestling fans that Ron Simmons and Butch Reed were under the masks. They had both been on WCW television shortly before Doom debuted. And then they were the only two African Americans in the company with the same massive physical appearance. But the announcers were made to keep up the storyline, although Jim Ross accidentally exposed Reed's identity on commentary during Starrcade 89. Future Shock. Doom won their debut match against the Steiners, when one of the members of Doom pinned Rick Steiner after a headbout with an illegal object in his mask. Doom followed up on this success by defeating Eddie Gilbert and Tommy Rich at Clash of the Champions 9. Looking very strong in the process, Doom's next pay-per-view outing did not come with the same success. Along with the Steiner Brothers, the Road Warriors, and the Samoan SWAT team, they were entered into a one-night tag team round-robin tournament. They did not score a single point, ending dead last in the tournament. Doom's misfortune continued as women soon dropped the team and left the federation. Then on February 6, 1990, at Clash of the Champions 10, Doom were defeated by the Steiner Brothers and as a result of the stipulation were forced to unmask. Doom beat the Steiner Brothers at Capital Combat. At that point in time, the Steiners didn't lose very often. Doom won the tag team titles and quickly set about defending them against the former champions, the Steiners, as well as the rest of WCW's very talented tag team division. In the fall of 1990, Doom soon feuded with the Four Horsemen and defended against them in two inconclusive tag team title matches at Halloween Havoc 1990 and Starrcade 1990. At Clash of the Champions 14, Doom lost a non-title match to Sting and Lex Luger in a match that foreshadowed the trouble that lay ahead. On February 24, 1991, at WCW's Wrestle War pay-per-view, Doom took on former tag team champions, the Fabulous Freebirds, and lost due to miscommunication between Reed and Simmons. After the Freebirds left the ring, Reed turned on Simmons and beat him up. This turned Simmons' face and ended the team of Doom forever. Teddy Long sided with Butch Reed as the former Doom partners engaged in a short but intense feud. The feud culminated at Super Brawl, where Ron Simmons pinned Butch Reed in the steel cage match, referred to as Thunderdome cage match. After the PPV, Reed left the company for a short while, only to return in 1992, siding with the Barbarian and Cactus Jack. Reed and the Barbarian teamed up to defeat Dustin Rhodes and Barry Windham at Clash of the Champions 20, but left WCW for good shortly afterwards. After leaving WCW, Reed went to the United States Wrestling Association, where he resumed feuding with Junkyard Dog. Reed beat him for the USWA Unified World Heavyweight Championship on October 12, 1992. He held the title for a week before he lost it to Todd Champion. He left the promotion before 1992 ended. Reed next appeared for a notable promotion in 1994, the Global Wrestling Federation. In its last days, he became the penultimate GWF North American champion on June 4, 1994, where he beat Rod Price for the held up title. It had been held up the previous day after a match he had with Price got out of hand and ended inconclusively. He held it for almost a month before losing it to Gentleman Chris Adams, who was the last GWF North American champion. The saga of the one and only Butch Reed continues. For Wrestling News Now, I'm Todd Tanner.